Hello everyone and welcome. Matits with the Pokeslavs with you today, and today we're gonna have another deck profile. Once again, unfortunately I don't have the cards, so I'm just gonna show you the deck list. And today we're gonna be looking at Ethan's Typhlosion Dragapult. Okay, so the cards to note in this deck is the 4/4 line of Ethan's Typhlosion, a single prizer that hits for 1 fire energy, and the maximum damage output that Ethan's Typhlosion does is 280, which is a lot, and it knocks out a bunch of stuff. So it's a really strong single prize attacker. And another thing is the 3/3/1 line of Dragapult. Why? Because I think this deck is, while it is super strong and super good, I think it just lacks a bit of consistency, and I think that Ethan and his Pokemon kind of need a buddy, and I see Dragapult as being the best buddy for them, because, well, the Dracloak's ability for the draw engine, so you get all of the cards that you actually need, and, well, one Dragapult just in case you need to knock out and a bunch of stuff on the bench as well. So an optional attacker, but mainly just as a draw engine. Another thing to note is the 4 Ethan's Adventure supporters. Well, of course, why do we have them? First of all, the middle evolution of Ethan's Pokemon can fish them out of your deck for free with their ability. And the second thing, Ethan's Typhlosion does more damage for each Ethan's Adventure card in your discard piles. So that means if all 4 of them are down, that's 280 damage, which knocks out, like I said, a bunch of stuff, a vast majority of the big Pokemon currently in the game. And another thing in this deck list is the redeemable ticket. Why do we have it? Well, in case one of the, or more, of the Ethan's Adventure cards being prized, we just play the redeemable ticket to return them back in the deck, fish them out with the Quilavas, and discard them with Ultra Ball, and there we go, we're hitting for 280 again. So yeah, those are sort of the main cards. And another card that I would really like to mention is the Technical Machine Evolution. Why do we play it? Well, because we kind of want to go second, and to evolve into Ethan's Quilavas as fast as we can, or Ethan's Quilava plus Dracloak, so that we have the Ethan's Quilava and a draw engine. Talking a little bit about some of the more important matchups. There are 2 of them that are kind of 50-50, slightly favored for us or slightly favored for them. And slightly favored for us is a deck that I enjoyed playing in the Journey Together format a lot, and that is the Eevee Box. We're slightly favored, well, because we can one-hit knockout basically anything apart from the Pikachus, and that's why we have the Dragapult to clean them up after ourselves, actually. And the slightly unfavored one is the Cynthia's Garchomp, another big deck that popped up in the Destined Rivals format. We have a slightly unfavored matchup because, well, you can boost up the Cynthia's Garchomp to insane amounts of HP, and we just can't hit that numbers. However, we can 2-hit knockout them, which is not that bad, but it's still not a great trade-off to have, so that's why it's kind of slightly unfavored. Plus they have an integrated draw engine in their attacker, which is also kind of painful for us. But, however, we also have some really good matchups, and the first one that I would like to mention is a matchup that is so heavily favored for us, it's insane, and that is the deck that it has really few bad matchups in this current meta, and that is the Gholdengo Dragapult. Why do we have such insanely good matchup? Well, we can play it kind of single prize deck-ish kinda, and we hit Gholdengos for weakness, and they mainly rely on Gholdengos as their main attackers. The Dragapults are kind of just support draw engine, just like in this deck. And once we hit for weakness, we really need just 2 Ethan Adventures cards in our discard, and we have enough damage to just one-hit knockout them, which can be done in basically second round of the game, which is really good. Another thing, well, just similar to the previous one, we can play this deck as a single prizer, and there is a deck that is really dominant in this meta that has a huge problem dealing with single prize decks, and that is the Raging Bolt EX. If we play the single prizer variant, we're gonna have a great time against Raging Bolts because we can get to 280 fairly easily, and well, they have 240 or 210 HP on their Pokemon, which we can really knock out without any major issues. And if they have a Bravery Charm, we just leave them there and clean up with Dragapult for the last prizes at the end of the game. And another deck that we're heavily favored into, just because that 280 margin that I keep mentioning, is the Eevee Box. Well, all Eevee evolutions have 280 HP, and we can hit that with a single prizer. And they have to take our single prizers with their two prizers, and it's just not a fair trade-off. And that's why we can start a little bit behind and just boost ourselves ahead in the late game. So just because the single prizer aspect of this deck makes it really heavily favored into Eevee boxes. And another one is also a new deck that popped up in the Destined Rivals, and that is the Rocket's Mewtwo, once again hitting for weakness on the Spyrops and hitting 280 on the Rocket's Mewtwo. However, there are few really big decks that are really heavily favored into us. The first one is the most popular deck currently in the format, which is Marne's Grimsnar. And they are heavily favored into us, and that's really not all that good, at least in my opinion, because, well, all of our Pokemon have abilities, and it's just kind of painful to play against them. They can take multiple prizes in one turn, and it's just a really awkward matchup, and they can lock us in the active, and it's just not great. Really not great. Another one is a deck that I really like, and a lot of people actually are big enjoyers. It's the Gardevoir EX. Another big deck, very popular deck, which we're heavily unfavored into. That's why I'm not so sure on playing Eden's Typhlosion just yet. Although it has a lot of good matchups, the bad ones are really bad. So yeah, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching, and catch you next time.